do this. All right. We will start by, of course, we have to start from day one. It is going to be Mitakeumi versus Uda in this day one. I think what I'll do is enlarge the screen so that I am in front of myself over here in the corner. Let's lower the volume. And we will watch the match in full speed, and then, of course, we will go over it with our cute little John Madden tool. Oh. I need to learn the hotkeys, if there are any hotkeys. Control-Shift-6 is undo? That sounds terrible. Control-Shift-5? Hotkeys. Eraser.
A lot going on in terms of the respect that each Rikishi
Sure, Shift 1 for eraser.
And give the ring and
Shift 2 for cursor.
they don't actually drink the water.
Actually, no.
Mitakeumi versus Uda.
There we go.
Uda down and ready. Gets underneath.
So Mitakeumi gets a really nice push, and because Uda got stopped up really quickly, he really could not do anything about it. So, going back to the start of this match, this mostly just relies on Uda trying to get underneath and then Mitakeumi simply catching him. Like, we can see it in the very first frame. I'm not even gonna need to draw it out, honestly. We have you see right here, Uda getting low for the charge, and Mitakeumi knowing this, he puts the right hand down so he can block Uda from coming in. And then he meets him with that elbow right to the bicep and uses that to pop Uda up and back. And then keeps those hands inside, pushing all the way back. Like I said, this arm right here, pushing, leveraging Uda all the way back. He's probably doing the exact same thing with that left arm, pushing back at the chest. And from there, I mean, not too much else to do. Just keep pushing. Has him at the edge. His arms are starting to get grabbed, but now going chest to chest at the edge, that's exactly where he wants to be. Uda has that right arm kind of flailing, so he's not using that for anything, and all of the pressure he's generating is on the Tawada through his legs, and it's just a matter of time before Mitakeumi either forces him up and back or releases the pressure and lets Uda fall to the ground, which he does opt for the push out. So, day one, I mean, he looks like our regular old Mitakeumi. Nothing really special going on there. Just a really well-fought match. Oops. Let's skip all the way ahead. We have skip through the Takanosho. Takake. Oh, must have skipped the Oki no Umi match. Here we go. Oki no Umi. I meant Mitakeumi. Alright, so Mitakeumi versus Ichinojo here on day 2. Let's bring up the sumo database so I don't get lost with who these people fought each other. So day 2, up against Ichinojo. The head-to-head is already heavily in Mitakeumi's favor here. It was 12-6 at the time. So, looking pretty good already on paper. Going for the charge, actually pulling back and trying to get to Ichinojo's side, which he eventually does, and then he gets the Yorikiri win. And it's not more complicated than that, really. Instead of trying to push forward against this massive brick wall, he instead pulls back, gets to the side, and then when he does get to the side, an awkward position for the slow and lumbering Ichinojo, he just pushes him at that awkward angle and then gets the strong win. So we can see here, right off the Tachiai, Mitakeumi already took the step to the left. That step slightly to the left this way. He has his body positioned such that he can get leverage underneath Ichinojo right here. Like, we have the elbow right up in here. His right shoulder is lower, so he can use his left shoulder to turn Ichinojo this way, and that's exactly what happens. This is when Ichinojo meets him, and so Mitakeumi uses his opportunity to shuffle around him. You can see his footwork right there. Really good footwork. His feet go from like here to here where they are now. And that's a really good shift of position really quickly. And Ichinojo can't really keep up with it. And that's exactly what Mitakeumi wants. He wants to put on these quick moves that Ichinojo can't handle. So now that he is to the side, you can see he has the grip on the right arm of Ichinojo. And even though Ichinojo gets a nice shot to the face, Mitakeumi stays dancing around him until he gets this position right here where Ichinojo goes for another attack to the face. Mitakeumi lets it slide off of his face, and with this hand right underneath the armpit, he's going to use it to leverage himself into a better position where he can then take the final step and attack the side of Ichinojo. And that's exactly what happens right there. Quick enough, I say quick enough footwork because he's not incredibly fast by any means, but it's fast enough that he can get to Ichinojo's side, and now we can see Mitakeumi, he's firmly planted on the attack, and Ichinojo, well, that he's just a line to be pushed out of the ring. His feet aren't in a line, his shoulders in a line. He's facing this way completely. Has his entire body this way. Mitakeumi is at a 90-degree angle, so it's just really easy for Mitakeumi to take this final push and get him up and out of the ring. Ichinojo tries to bring around the rest of his body, but Mitakeumi is just there to catch it, and he gets the Yorikiri. Not very complicated stuff. Mitakeumi making it look methodical, and again, this is a guy that he has defeated 13 times before. So, not too hard for him. Day 3, we go into Wakataka Kage versus Mitakeumi. And, oh wow, look at that. I skipped exactly to the right spot. And this is a smaller rivalry. How you doing, Nick? Yeah, this is a smaller rivalry that has been forming because we do think, especially at this channel, we think Wakataka Kage might have a chance at staying within the Sanyaku. He did go 9-6 at the previous tournament. And even though he lost to a lot of the guys in the Sanyaku, like Mitakeumi and, like the Yokozuna, as he consistently does, I believe Wakataka Kage can stabilize up there, and I'm hoping for that. But that's not what we're talking about today. We are getting ready to see Mitakeumi versus Wakataka Kage, who is, up until this point, was 5-2 in the head-to-head, but knowing how the story goes, we will see how Mitakeumi defeats his opponent. Mitakeumi is actually the one who got to the side and got pulled around, but manages to maintain at the edge, keeping Wakataka Kage in front of him the whole way, attempting to go for a throw, and then after throwing Wakataka Kage off balance, he pushes forward and earns the Yorikiri. So, at the very start of this match, it's already, it's not looking good for Mitakeumi at the very start of this match, because Wakataka Kage does to Mitakeumi what Mitakeumi just did to Ichinojo a day earlier. You see, Wakataka Kage has a very good arm grip on the belt, and if he actually got a better grip on the belt, he could probably throw Mitakeumi, but that's not what happens here. He does attempt to pull Mitakeumi around the ring, and you can see he even pulls up the arm to go for the slap down after getting to the side in this pseudo Henka attempt. But Mitakeumi, look at how he's planting this left foot. He plants it and immediately follows up, standing up so he doesn't get himself slapped down. So he's not in the best stance, but he's in that anti-slap down stance where he has his shoulders square. You can see he's even like pushing his traps up to try to, really break this slapdown attempt. And now, instead of Wakataka Kage being on the pull, it looks like Mitakeumi is on the attack. Because even though Wakataka Kage pulls him all the way over here, that doesn't do anything. Mitakeumi keeps himself square. He keeps his hips square, He keeps his shoulders, they're a little turned to the right. Like you can see his hips are, well, actually, you could say his hips are turned to the left, and his feet need to catch up to him because his shoulders are turned this way, kind of tilted to the right to meet Wakataka Kage. His hips are still facing more this way, and then his feet, like I said, they need to catch up. So his weakness is kind of showing, but it's just a matter of, can these other sumo wrestlers take advantage of his slower feet? Like I mentioned against Ichinojo, he was fast enough, but Wakataka Kage was not fast enough here to really take advantage of this twisting Mitakeumi, because immediately Mitakeumi pulls that left foot forward, squares himself, goes for the push out at the edge over here, chest to chest, but now Wakataka Kage, they're trading inside right to outside left, but Mitakeumi, one small problem for Waka, has the grip on the belt, whereas Wakataka Kage does not have that. Mitakeumi is blocking that with his left bicep. And that's really the killer here. And that's why Mitakeumi is soon going to win this match. Because from here, Mitakeumi, you could see he's kind of getting pulled up. And that's because Wakataka Kage is pulling him up with that right forearm underneath the armpit. But he keeps the hand, inside right hand, locked on the belt. And this is where he goes for the throw. And with this push, he knows Wakataka Kage is off balance. He knows that he's only on one foot. So then he immediately starts attacking forward. You could see this right foot, like in the Abi video we did for the last tournament. Right foot forward. He's going to push forward. He just needs to bring this left foot forward next. And that's exactly how he's going to do it. He's going to re-square his hips after a nice hop forward. Again, Wakataka Kage off balance, doesn't have solid footing. Mitakeumi going on the attack and getting the Yorikiri victory. And that, noticing that already in Mitakeumi's wins, how he shuffles his feet forward, he doesn't take steps. He's shuffling left to right, he's shuffling forward, and that way he keeps his feet square on the ground and he doesn't let them slip, because with those big steps, that's when you have the chance to, Terutsuyoshi slip on your own salt, or Wakataka Kage step out of the ring. And we can see it kind of quickly here. He's shuffling his feet. Like, you see that little hop? Watch his little hop here. He doesn't step. He hops. He shuffles. Right here. Quickly shuffling forward twice in a row, keeping himself square, keeping those feet square, and getting the good win. And now that I've noticed that, I hope to see that in more of his matches that way. And this is why I also like doing the match breakdowns, because we notice these small things because we're only covering these specific sumo wrestlers. So let's see, Mitakeumi versus Meisei here on day 4. This is another matchup where Mitakeumi heavily favored already. He was 6-2 in the head-to-head, now 7-2. And we're going to see how he does it. Meisei had a very bad tournament this time around. But, it is what it is. If you can hear Princess yelling about something, it's because she's playing the new Pokemon game. It's really good. I kind of want to play it myself. Might not do it on stream, but I kind of want to play it. Anyway, Mitakeumi versus Meisei. Meisei is, people have hopes for Meisei, I think, and I don't think they're misplaced because he is young. He is doing very well for himself. It's just a matter of, finding his consistency, I think. And it is difficult when you go, 8-7 into 5-10. And then, of course, having this tape on his back definitely isn't helping him either. So, probably fighting through injury this tournament. Probably not the entire reason why Mitakeumi beats him here. And that's why we're going to break this match down. Yeah, exactly. High protein foods also keep you fuller longer. So if you are on a diet, high protein foods are always just good. Yeah, here we go. Mitakeumi and Meisei. Mitakeumi meeting Meisei on the charge and having his hands inside. Meisei going for a pull and did get a throw, but he stepped out first, and that's why the mono-e is going to be called.
Right away we have a mono-e.
Definitely.
This is called an oshidashi for Mitakeumi, but we can see it again. I want to watch it again at full speed, because this is actually not that bad for Meisei, and also shows off Mitakeumi really good at trying to keep his hands inside and keeping on the push against Meisei. I want to watch this one more time at full speed, because you can see Meisei really well fights off Mitakeumi's inside hands, and at the very end you can see Meisei has the inside right when he goes for the throw, trying to get double inside and then going for the pull, and that almost was a Mitakeumi loss, but Meisei unfortunately steps out first.
Bandages on Meisei's back and butt area seem new. I don't remember him having them last Basho. Maybe he's
Oh yeah, this was the night where I didn't have a voice. Because I got 24-hour flu or something. I just could not talk.
a little bit of muscle soreness.
Yeah, we can see right here on the charge, Meisei, he has this left hand inside. You can see trying to fight away Mitakeumi's right hand. And over here, it's a little difficult to see what's happening with these hands on the inside. But like I said earlier, we do know at the end of the day, Meisei does get the inside right, which we know Mitakeumi wants to control the inside. I mean, every sumo wrestler wants to control the inside. But here, we can see Meisei, his hands are coming off of the body in an attempt to re-attack, whereas Mitakeumi, he's kind of stood up a bit, and he's on the push forward. Meisei sliding backwards. You can see his feet are going to slide, and he's taking, little baby steps backwards to try to get his hands in a better position. Mitakeumi, having the inside right, goes for the head, gets his hand knocked away, while Meisei maintains a hand on the throat. Mitakeumi tries to counter this by doing the same thing, pulling his inside hand inside, trying to create some pressure, maybe even bring that up to slap the hand away. And, well, let's see how that works out in this next step. Meisei is the one to actually pull back. And usually, when something like that happens, I'm trying to imagine in my mind, it's like a Tom and Jerry or a Wile E. Coyote cartoon where it's like you expect them to keep pushing, but they pull back and then you fall on your face or whatever. That happens in sumo all the time too. Mitakeumi probably expected Meisei to keep the attack on his throat, so when Meisei quickly pulls the hand back and re-attacks the chest or re-attacks the belt inside, it looks like Mitakeumi actually stumbles forward here. And that gives Meisei the go-ahead to go for the pull because he thinks, oh, he's a little awkward. I have inside leverage on the belt. I have my right hand around, or I have my left hand around his right arm, and he doesn't have my belt. Meisei goes for what I think is a pretty smart decision in going for a pull, but he just doesn't do it fast enough, and we'll see how Mitakeumi tries to counter it in the next few steps. So Mitakeumi tries to recenter himself, really gets himself low. Like you can see he lowered his hips, he lowered his shoulders to try to create some leverage, and that's when Meisei knows time to pull him around the dohyo. So he does take those hops back, and like I said against Wakataka Kage, Mitakeumi trying to keep himself square, trying to shuffle these feet forward, and that's when he goes for the big step, which his left foot is coming up now. If he were to have shuffled forward like he did in the previous two matches, he probably keeps his legs more centered. So you have to wonder, how hard is Meisei getting this slap down in this throw combo that actually forced Mitakeumi to take this error, this big step? And like I said, Meisei almost has the win here. He gets a really good throw. Look at that pull. Mitakeumi is flying. I don't think there were many good points for Mitakeumi at all in this fight, frankly. But turning his body, trying to avoid stepping out. You could even see he pulls his leg up off the ground. He's holding on to the leg of Meisei over here to try to avoid touching the ground. And then Meisei well, his foot breaks the plane of the dohyo first, which I don't know why, but it's a complicated ruling because it doesn't say anywhere in the rule books that the gyoji considers the air quotes plane of the dohyo extending outwards in all directions, but they have said it live before that the foot passed the plane of the dohyo, so it does exist, but it doesn't exist, and it's a controversial ruling to a lot of Western fans that don't understand Japanese. So this is a perfect example of that, where for all intents and purposes, Mitakeumi probably should have lost because, I mean, oops, went way too far back. But like we could see again at the end here, Mitakeumi, he got countered almost at every step. Meisei on a very well-timed attack. Mitakeumi, I mean, like, he's airborne. There's no way he can win from this position. All he can do is try to survive. And, well, survive for long enough he does, because Meisei steps out of the ring first, and Mitakeumi, you could probably make a meme out of this. Like, look at his position. It was actually called for Mitakeumi at first as well.
Wow. I don't know if man looking for me. I don't know.
And that's when the Shimpan come back and call the Tori Naoshi.
Definitely with that, but I would think with that. Yeah.
So breaking down the entire first match was completely useless.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because it doesn't matter. They call it a Tori Naoshi of all things, even though I think I probably said it live. It probably could go either way because of the plane of the dohyo thing or, you know, whatever else. But that entire first match doesn't matter. But what we do know is that Meisei kept Mitakeumi off balance, and I feel like for all intents and purposes should have had that win. I do feel like Meisei probably should have won that one. But now we get into round 2. Mitakeumi versus Meisei.
Mitakeumi down.
We'll watch this one at full speed. And, well, there's not really much to watch here.
Mitakeumi just with a straight power approach.
Oh yeah, life is definitely good for him. Although it is noted that he didn't get married, he was already married. But yeah. You know, right off the tachi, Mitakeumi, oops, sorry about the artifacting. Mitakeumi doesn't get his right hand inside, like I said he does, like he wants to, but that left hand does look like it's inside. Meisei trying to fight it off. Meisei, again, going for a pull maneuver, but this time it's not going to work. Mitakeumi knows it's coming, gets the Oshidashi. And, well, what went from a Mitakeumi disaster goes into a Mitakeumi win because the Tori Naoshi was called, and it's tough to call. I'm not a gyoji. I'm not a referee of this sport. I referee soccer. Well, and even then, a lot of those calls can go either way.
9 wins away from Ozeki.
But yeah, this was in the second fight. Really, you don't even really need to break this down. Just Mitakeumi getting really good feet forward, keeping his body square, getting a good push while Meisei goes for a pull. Whatever. You haven't seen Furious in forever? What do you mean? His first chat was today. Yeah. Solid win for Mitakeumi in the second match. That first one, though, I think that does kind of expose Mitakeumi a little bit. Slightly vulnerable to those pulls, but even then, it's not 100% because, like he did against Wakataka Kage, he kept himself centered, kept his feet shuffling forward, even though his feet couldn't keep up, which I do think is a little bit of a weakness. Yeah, it's kind of telling. Kind of. We're only on day 4 here, so we're not really seeing a lot of the sways and goes of things. Let's see. On day 5, he faces Kiribayama. He might have the match after the Takanosho match. Day 5, he faces Kiribayama, and here we are. So, the head-to-head between these two is actually pretty even. It's 4-4. So this is a nice rivalry going on here. Mitakeumi versus Kiribayama. Kiribayama performing pretty well for the most part against some of these guys. Salmon Mbovo, then Karla, now here. If there's sumo to be had. Well, that's what I try to do. If you miss any of the sumo content, I try to post it on my YouTube channel, which some people right now might be watching it there. If you want to use command... I see now the issue of doing Shift 1 as my hotkey, because now I can't do the exclamation point. Let me just change that real quick. Hold on. Let me just reset it to default. 2, 3, and 5. That's what I want. Okay. But here we go. You can tune into my YouTube channel for more sumo content. I do plan on making a few between Basho on there. And reposting any fight breakdowns onto my YouTube. And for those of you who are watching on my YouTube channel, thank you so much. You're probably coming from Reddit, in which case, hello Redditors. And that's all I have to say about that. Mitakeumi versus Kiribayama here on day 5. Mitakeumi does end up taking the win, and Kiribayama ends the tournament 6-9.
Specifically sumo hairdressers. They're both Mitakeumi versus Kiribayama.
Let's watch this at full speed now. Mitakeumi getting stood up on the retreat, then uses that momentum to push Kiribayama to the edge of the ring. So we can see right off the Tachi Eye, I think it's in Kiribayama's hands because Mitakeumi doesn't have hands on Kiribayama while Kiribayama has hands on him. So that's when Mitakeumi steps back to the side, slaps Kiribayama to the side, and Kiribayama does attempt to pursue, but we can see Mitakeumi preparing for the attack, stepping to the side again. So what he's doing right now is coming around in a circle similar to Ichinojo, except now his opponent is much faster, much more agile. So how is he going to respond? Well, he actually has a really good hand right here, so he can push Kiribayama that way, should he need to. So if Kiribayama can't keep up, he can get to the side of Kiriba and, you know, really keep him off to the side. But Kiribayama turns around really quickly, and so as a response, Mitakeumi, he squats low, digs in deep, tries to block this inside right from Kiribayama, as Kiribayama now responds by getting low, and Mitakeumi just maintaining position, trying to block these inside hands from doing anything. And that's when Mitakeumi pulls back, goes for a slap down, gets Kiribayama off balance, and then immediately follows up. Seeing Kiribayama pop up really quickly, he leans forward into the push on that exposed chest, and Kiribayama just gives it up. Yeah, about Takakeisho at least. People have mentioned the pattern of, you know, being here for 2 tournaments and then taking the 3rd one off. And it is probably because of his physique, probably because of his, you know, a lot of people say that he is too overweight for his own, good. And thank you for the follow, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. But yeah, another solid win for Mitakeumi. Getting the pull, getting the push, and that's classic sumo. Pull, push, push, pull. Just really trying to control the flow of your enemy and really just trying to control the flow of the match. And that's why in a lot of situations you'll see like someone go for the push out at the edge and then pull them down in the middle of the ring going for a throw by the arm. Kataskashi. Or, you know, getting a grip on the belt and then going for the throw into the middle of the ring. Or doing the opposite where they try to pull, and then you've seen it with Chiyoshoma where he'll pull around the ring and then kick out their leg from behind them. Or, you know, even going for a push afterwards Because when you get your opponent rocking back and forth like that, that's what is the killer, getting them off balance. Yeah, no problem, Gracie. I stream sumo every Sunday, or at least I try to.
If you need
Let's see. Up next, we have day 6, and his opponent here is Endo.
the best of us, coming back.
Let's see, that's Meisei Wakataka. Mitakeumi Endo. On this day, I was having issues with sound. Always fighting through technical difficulties. Just you wait, guys. One of these days, I'll be the one commentating on the NHK broadcast.
Brothers when they look so.
So let's see how this one breaks down. This is another head-to-head where Mitakeumi has a pretty good advantage. It was 11-7 coming into this match. Well, -1 for a Fusensho, so 10-7 coming into this match. So let's see how Mitakeumi does here. Eating the charge from Endo and, well, simply getting the frontal push out. I mean, really simple stuff here. Gets the inside right, even though Endo, combining two sumo wrestlers right now. Even though Endo gets the outside left on the belt where he wants it, that inside right from Mitakeumi, just a little too powerful. Pushing forward, Endo sliding all the way back because Mitakeumi is just heavier and stronger, and just using his belly to pop up Endo, who takes the step backwards. Not much doing there. Slurping down their chankanabe and communicating in Sims-like sounds. Koto no Waka and Koto Shouho. I like them both. And Koto no Waka is someone that we will be covering here due to his 11-4 and his special prize. So we will be breaking down his matches later in the month of February, where, again, every Sumo Sunday, we will be doing something new. Mitakeumi, I mean, again, not really much to say there. Inside right, pushing forward, Endo sliding, and then walking backwards. I will Endo you. Let's see, that's earlier in the night. Oh, wait, I have a part 2. The stream must have died in the middle. Let's see, that's a little too far. Here we go. Mitakeumi versus Tamawashi. And Tamawashi, I think at this point he was fresh off of his Kinboshi. Yeah, day 6 was Tamawashi's Kinboshi. Day 7, he's fighting against Mitakeumi. And again, this is heavily favored in Mitakeumi's favor. Their head-to-head is 26-3 in favor of Mitakeumi. They have basically fought each other almost every single tournament since 2015. And Mitakeumi wins in mostly Oshidashis, but we have Hatakikomi, Hikiotoshi, Makiotoshi, Yorikiri, Fish Lips and Zoidberg. Oh my god.
Yeah, I'll be like
You're so right about that. Thank you for the follow, Renchard.
His final match is going to be against Endo.
No, apparently I was wide.
Which is quite the even head-to-head, but we'll...
Mitakeumi versus Tamawashi here. Just on paper, you assume Mitakeumi is going to win. Let's see how he does it. Is it going to be like his match against Endo just yesterday?
Mitakeumi taking the charge.
Tamawashi is actually the one to get a good charge, but Mitakeumi recovering really well, keeping himself square. Tamawashi standing up, attempting a slap down, I think, and then just getting pushed out. So you got to really wonder if this was more of a Tamawashi error or not. But the very least you could say Mitakeumi took the charge well and pushed forward. Don't know the rules, but you love watching it. Well, the rules are pretty simple. It's if you touch outside of the ring, you lose, and if any part of the body but the soles of your feet touch the ground inside the ring, then you lose. There's even been situations where a person's top knot touched the ground, which means they lost. There are, illegal moves like no punching, no grabbing the hair, no poking the eyes, no kicking above the belt, no grabbing the opponent's dick, that kind of thing. But here, Tamawashi, I think, actually gets the better Tachi-ai here. He has this hand, you can see it's really applying leverage to the rib cage, even though Mitakeumi has the inside right to try to block. Tamawashi has a much better arc, much better leverage, and you can't see what's happening on this side, but you have to imagine both of those hands are attacking the rib cage really well. And with this kind of leverage, Tamawashi actually gets a good push. He stands up Mitakeumi, but with that, he lets his hand slide. You could see his hand slid from down here all the way up to the shoulder, and that allows Mitakeumi the in he needs to really try to fight back. He gets his left hand inside, trying to throw Tamawashi off balance, which you could see this right foot is up and off the ground. Mitakeumi widens the stance, really making it harder to push against him, leveraging himself, putting that right foot back, and then getting to the side of Tamawashi. Tamawashi starting to take the step back, and really that's where it was lost. Tamawashi taking the step back and then just giving up the chest, giving up the push to Mitakeumi, and it's a really solid win. But like I said, Tamawashi had a good Tachi-ai here, had a good push, but you can see his hand slips right up the boob of Mitakeumi, and Mitakeumi, you can call this expert defense. I think you could call it that. He widens his stance, and then he replants his feet, so he stops the momentum of Tamawashi. And then he uses the left arm to rock him off balance to get Tamawashi scared, and then when Tamawashi gets scared, he moves backwards.
No chance for Tamawashi. 7-0 for the Sekiwake.
To know sumo wrestling is to prize it immensely. Yeah.
Very good effort.
It's a very, very wonderful sport. There are, of course, some things that people don't like about sumo wrestling, like the raised dohyo, or the fact that, it is a little bit politicky when it comes to the stable masters and yada yada blah blah blah, but I just like sumo for the sport. I think it's a very good sport. Iron Tom. Did you get that one from me? It would have been wild if he got the Keen Boshi and then didn't get the Kachi Koshi. That would have been crazy.
For the follow, why not go big?
So after going 7-0, his opponent is Daieisho, who is a very strong Oshizumo wrestler. The pusher thruster straight to the face, straight to the throat. But again, in this head-to-head, it is 12-7 in favor of Mitakeumi. And, just looking at his opponents and seeing how many positive records he has against pretty much everyone at the top that isn't the Yokozuna, it's a wonder how it took him so long to finally become Ozeki. You know what I mean? I did see that Murgle. I don't know if I'll join it or not because my passion for Minecraft has been non-existent since I finished building the Kokugi-kan. Speaking of which, I built the Kokugi-kan in Minecraft and I'm going to post that video at some point. It's been done for over a year. I haven't posted it yet. We'll get to it eventually. Yeah, Mitakeumi versus Daieisho. And like I said, Mitakeumi is very strong, very stalwart, even against a good Tachi-ai. And Daieisho usually does have a good Tachi-ai. He can withstand it, play defensively, and I think he's pretty good at matching it with some good old Yotsu.
Just be rich. Yeah, just give me your money, guys. That's bitches.
So coming into this match, I already, think Mitakeumi is probably going to have it because Daieisho's going to go for the throat, and, if he misses one shot, then Mitakeumi gets the Yorikiri. If he doesn't miss a shot, then how is he going to move Mitakeumi back? He has some really good defense. Daisho going for the throat, but Mitakeumi parrying every single attempt at his face, getting, bent backwards though, actually pushing back, and then once again attempting the slap down. And, it was only really in that one match against Meisei where his defense against the slapdown didn't work, or rather he didn't even have one. But against every other attempt, he just shuffles forward, keeps his body square, and he fights it off really well. So now coming into this match, we could see, once again, hello Capri, how are you doing? A really good Tachi-ai for Daisho. He gets both of these hands inside, and he's already manhandling Mitakeumi. But Mitakeumi counters it by getting the hand outside and trying to push into the ribcage, but I don't think it's working. I don't think that counter works. He does keep a grip on the breast of Daisho, though, and that forces Daisho to kind of have a weaker attack with that left arm. And like when I broke down Abi, talking about how they go for the attack and then pull back and go for another big attack and then pull back and do it again, Daisho this time, he couldn't do that with that left arm. It was more like a, push in and then push in again. So he couldn't create as much leverage as he did on the first push. But now with that right arm, though, he can really pull back while using this left arm to kind of keep Mitakeumi at bay. And even then, the right arm attack didn't really go well for him there. It didn't look completely flaccid, but it looked less powerful than what we've seen before. Mitakeumi bringing his hands down so he can slap right up, and that's exactly what I was going to say. He brought the hand down so he can push it up into the armpit and try to block these attacks, or not block them, but instead parry them. So when Daisho does push for the face, he just pushes right up his face, and that would allow him to get inside. But Daisho keeps the assault up and actually turns Mitakeumi to the side. I think that's a very poor step by Mitakeumi there, where he thrusted forward with his own right arm and let that get caught by Daisho. Because now you can see Daisho pushing up on that right arm. His own right arm could wrap around this arm and then he can go for a pull here. But we'll see what happens next when Mitakeumi actually squares his hips and fights it off, and actually, like, you can see he's not in a good position. His back is being curved up. All the pressure is going straight up at him, and you just have to wonder, when is his back going to give? When are his legs going to give? When is his stance going to give so that he can actually get pushed backwards? And he shuffles back. He restances his feet, and Daisho still on the push, still pushing him up and back. Has a really mean assault here, but Mitakeumi's defense is just really incredible. Like, people used to compliment Shodai for his at the edge of the ring defense, but Mitakeumi's actual defense is really good here. So he takes another hop back, he shuffles back to get himself some space, and with that space, he uses it to lean forward. He's leaning forward now. So now, if Daisho wants to push him up, it's going to take a lot more pressure to do so, and knowing that that's Daisho's game plan makes it really difficult for Daisho to get this win here. So that's when Daisho attempts the pullback and the slapdown. But this all goes according to Mitakeumi's plan, because his defense against the pullback, except for against Meisei in that one match, is really good. We could see he's keeping his feet square, and it's more like he's the one on the charge instead of Daisho doing the slapdown. He keeps his hand around the hip, doesn't lose it, because, if you were to lose that grip and get slapped at the side, slapdown happens. But he keeps his hand inside on the hip of Daisho, keeps pushing forward, and even though his legs are kind of stood up and he's not in a lower squatting stance, he is still able to keep up, push forward, and, if there was a little bit more room on the dohyo, he probably does get into another situation like against Meisei where he gets thrown out of the ring and slapped down. But there's not enough room for Daisho, and he never gave it to Daisho. So Mitakeumi gets a really solid win there. I want to see his legacy be as solid as possible. I don't think he's going to be gone anytime soon, because if he wants the Iron Man record, he needs to stay in the top division for like another 2.5, 3 years. So I don't think Tamawashi's going to be gone in a while. Are all of these in order? Yes, we're currently on day 8, and we will be moving into day 9. Breaking down each of these matches one by one.
Like, even though on camera,
Let's
it's
see,
like,
that
you know,
was
the servers do
Takanosho.
everything. Now that
A little upset that Takanosho couldn't get his own Kinboshi. I mean, not Kinboshi, his Kachikoshi.
to see a marching band.
And now it was at this point where I was saying we might be worried about Mitakeumi's week 2 collapses. Because historically, despite having really good records, like I mentioned earlier in the show, which is not going to be seen on YouTube because I'm only doing the match breakdown for YouTube, we were basically saying that Mitakeumi is very inconsistent, and that largely comes from breaking down on week 2. He loses most of his matches on week 2, and it's so prolific that any like more in-depth sumo watcher that has been I've only been watching for like almost 3 years now, and I'm very aware of Mitakeumi's second half collapses, kind of like the Chiefs today. But Mitakeumi this time around, it didn't happen, and it's on those, you know, rare occasions where the week 2 collapse doesn't happen that he really shines. And I think now is the perfect opportunity for him to really shine.
There's a Jollibee's here in San Antonio. Oh, I don't
Yeah.
like the al dente. You can't rub it into the
Mitakeumi versus Okinoumi. The head-to-head here is actually pretty close, but Okinoumi was not performing very well at this tournament at all. I mean, you could see it right up there. He was 2-6 at this point. Ended the tournament 4-11, so definitely not a good tournament for Okinoumi. At the point these two met in the ring, the head-to-head was 6-5, so you could reasonably argue that Okinoumi had a chance to upset Mitakeumi here. But Mitakeumi doing really good, Okinoumi doing really bad. Whether it might be due to fighting through injury or him just, you know, getting older and, you know, not having the same strength he used to. It's up for debate, but Mitakeumi's still young, still, you know, 29 years old. Has a lot of room to become an Ozeki and hopefully the Yokozuna in the future. Let's see what he does here against Okinoumi. Just a really good Tachi-ai and the win. Like half of his matches so far have been. Right hand inside, and it's actually kind of strange. His hand is this way when it should be this way to try to grab the belt, but he doesn't have his hand. He has his hand curved in towards himself. That's really unusual. I might just be overthinking it or overanalyzing it, because in the next moment he turns his hand inside and grabs the belt. And then that's the kill shot, basically. Like, Okinoumi tried to match the inside right, outside left, but Mitakeumi just looking really powerful this tournament. Just getting a really good push. And Mitakeumi not getting slapped down at the edge like Okinoumi attempted, but, you know, just really good Tachi-ai into really good push, you know? Not much else to say here. Most of sumo happens at the Tachi-ai, and most of the wins come from it. So just straight up another good match. Right hand inside, going for the belt, shuffling forward as he usually does. And 9-0 coming into day 10. And this is where his first shock happens against Hokuto Fuji.
Added pressure to, you know, not
Takanosho Shodai, we're a little too far. Yeah, here we go. So Mitakeumi, Hokuto Fuji, their head-to-head is 12-11 right now. -1 because of a Fusensho, so 12-10 in favor of Mitakeumi. These two have very similar Tachi-ais, but Hokuto Fuji's is usually much more powerful, like a loaded spring being shot. And that's usually what gives Hokuto Fuji the advantage against other Yotsu guys, because he's not an Oshizumo guy, He's just more of a, win or lose off of the Tachi kind of guy. And, unfortunately for my Kachi Clash, he did a lot of losing off of the Tachi. But what happens here is actually not that surprising because of these two stylistically matching up in a way that it is 50-50 statistically, almost. Like 55-45. But, actually, full speed. Hokuto Fuji blocking that inside right with the outside left, like kind of forcing it to stay inside left. Or outside left. Because just watch it right here. Mitakeumi gets the Tachi he likes. Hokuto Fuji gets the Tachi he likes. Even though he's getting a shoulder to the nose right now. But Mitakeumi getting the right hand in on the belt. But what Hokuto Fuji does is he takes a shift to the left. And this leftward shift, you could see, coming over a bit this way, he has all of the pressure right here on Mitakeumi's belt. He's locking the right hand inside, and it's not gripping the belt at this point. His hand slid off the belt. It's not gripping it at all. And Hokuto Fuji getting a really nice hand on the belt right here and not letting Mitakeumi move. Because after this, you could see Mitakeumi is a little off balance, whereas Hokuto Fuji is kind of making that happen. Hokuto Fuji is shifting his shoulders down to the side and using the leverage he has here, driving forward. Hips not in a perfect position, but you could see Hokuto Fuji trying to lean hard into this right side of Mitakeumi with that left hand, and Mitakeumi, his usual defense is not going to work here. Because you can see he's getting stood up. This right hand is completely locked from doing anything. Like, sure, it's inside, but it's not doing anything. He doesn't have it pushing at the chest. He doesn't have it on the belt. And that's because what Hokuto Fuji has done here is he has locked his own body onto Mitakeumi's, and he's just going to push really hard forward, like a big step forward, just walking Mitakeumi forward, rocking him back. And that was just really good work by Hokuto Fuji there. Mitakeumi's defense, there was none. His usual defense in the middle of the ring was not allowed to happen because Hokuto Fuji locked him out from defending himself, basically. Even though he doesn't have the perfect grip on the belt, like he has the hand on the belt, and again, like we mentioned in previous matches, what Mitakeumi likes to do is keep that inside hand in and then use it to push out, but Hokuto Fuji doesn't allow it to push out. You can see he's bending his elbow into his body so Mitakeumi can't move it. So he completely locks Mitakeumi out of his usual defense and then just walks it forward for the win. Like, really powerful legs there from Hokuto Fuji. And I wish he was more consistent, honestly. I really like Hokuto Fuji. But yeah, that was all Hokuto Fuji, no Mitakeumi. And, well, kind of appropriate to see Mitakeumi's first loss. And again, this is where I did have a slight twinge of fear about a possible, week 2 late collapse of Mitakeumi, because we've seen it before. We've seen it before where a front runner completely collapses. Aoyama did it 2 Marches ago in March of 2020. He was the sole leader on like day 12 or 13, and then he goes and loses his last few matches. We've seen it from Takayasu in recent memory, where he was ahead by 2 wins, completely collapses. Terunofuji gets the dub. And so here, I was kind of worried. Sure, those types of collapses only happened in 2 Basho out of the 12 that happened in the past year, or 2 years rather. But I thought it was still a worry that was likely to happen because, Mitakeumi's infamous for it. But, this is something that other sumo pundits and stable masters were saying even after the match, when this match coming up later, let's see, this is Hoshoryu Takanosho, Mitakeumi Shodai. And a lot of guys were impressed that Mitakeumi pulled out the win against Shodai, because usually they would have expected, like, oh, he has 1 loss, Now he has 2 losses. Then he'll get 3 losses. And like Water Geo just said, he averages 3.5 wins in the second 7 days, which is definitely not good. Definitely not good.
Anything can happen here, considering the head-to-head way back in she.
Yeah, we have Mitakeumi versus Shodai, which is another really good rivalry. 15-12 between them, and that comes down to Mitakeumi being good defensively and offensively, Shodai being good defensively at the edge of the ring, where when Mitakeumi gets the good push, Shodai would counter at the edge, or however it would work out. But this time around, again, a hot Mitakeumi versus a cold Shodai. Really, everyone was in Mitakeumi's corner anyway, because they wanted to see a challenge for the cup. They don't want to just see Teruno Fuji, just take over completely. But fortunately for Mitakeumi, Loldai showed up at this tournament. Mitakeumi getting that right hand inside, and once again, nearly winning off the Tachi-ai. Had Shodai at the edge, but once again, his usual defensive sumo. But Mitakeumi did not let himself get rocked back and forth. Mitakeumi still has an advantageous position, very advantageous. Shodai actually gets a good push forward, but it is not meant to be. Did not have the stamina. Mitakeumi gets his 10th win.
Mitakeumi fan club out in 4.
And that was actually a really good win too, because again, a lot of stable masters were saying like they were happy to see that he stayed cool under the pressure, that he didn't let his first loss affect him, and this was definitely an opponent that he could have given up a loss to. Has Mitakeumi ever had 2 Makekoshi in a row in the top division? That's a good question. Considering he's been in the top division since 2015, I want to say yes. The last time that happened was 2019 going into 2020, where he went 6-9 from Sekiwake in 2019 November. Then he went 7-8 2020 January. So yeah, that's the most recent time he's done that. But it looks like that's the only time he's had 2 Makekoshi in a row in the top 2 divisions, or just in general. So Mitakeumi does have a pretty decent career, But yeah, Mitakeumi, we can break this match down step by step. Like I said, in the full speed, he wins off the Tachi-ai, and similar to, against Okinoumi, you think he's going to win right here. Inside right hand, Shodai's outside left, not doing much of anything. And then at the edge here, Shodai actually gets a lot of good leverage. You could see he's using his toes to catch the Tawada and then use that to stop Mitakeumi's momentum, who at this point is stood up straight. Like, he has his shoulder square, hip square, feet square, but he stood up straight. And this is where Shodai can really, leverage himself. Look, he's got all of this pressure leaning forward, letting gravity help him out, whereas Mitakeumi stood up straight. Or, my lines aren't straight, but you can see what I'm saying here. Mitakeumi not in the very good position to finish off this Yorikiri, and that's how Shodai is able to recover, because you can see he has his knees bent, generating a lot of pressure against these Tawada with just the balls of his feet, just his toes. And then from here, Mitakeumi, I'm not sure if this was a pullback or if it was Shodai getting a good step forward, but Mitakeumi pulls back to the middle of the ring, possibly to try to get a better grip, but now his right arm is getting stuck underneath the armpit of Shodai, and we can't really tell what's happening with the left, but we have to assume it's an outside left, because here's Shodai's hand getting stuck near the belt. Shodai tries to use that long arm to wrap around and grab Mitakeumi by the belt, which he uses to control Mitakeumi, and this is definitely a grip that Mitakeumi did not want to give up, because now this allows Shodai to have power over him, and he uses that to survive for as long as he can. And you can see he's going to rock Mitakeumi right there at the edge of the ring. So now he's giving himself more space. Mitakeumi has double grip on the belt now, though. Outside left, inside right. He has a lot of leverage, and like I said, he has a lot a very good position here, but he loses the outside left. Shodai has the outside left, and from here, it's kind of stalemated. Like, even though Shodai literally has his heel, 2 inches away from losing, it's stalemated right here.
Tawada now, Mitakeumi just can't get that final.
It's stalemated right here. Mitakeumi, he's really trying to dig low, too. Like, you can see, he's lowered his hips. He has these feet out wide in a really powerful stance. And it's just a matter of trying to get his chest to push up into Shodai so he can finally push him up and out of the ring. But the question is, how can he do it when Shodai is using this left hand to try to leverage? Because if Mitakeumi goes for a push and stands himself up, Shodai, with this grip on the belt, can try to throw him to the side. So what happens here is Shodai goes on the attack, actually takes the step forward. And now that they are centered in the ring, you think, uh-oh, this is actually, this might actually go either way at this point. And it really can. We can't see what's happening on the far side. We don't know what kind of grips are happening over here, whether or not Mitakeumi has an outside left or Shodai has an inside right. But I have to imagine with their shoulders squared up against each other like this, that Shodai probably has the inside right. And then this kind of goes into how you can build leverage, not only using your arms and your shoulders, but also your head, like I mentioned during one of my previous breakdowns that you can find on YouTube. And if you are not watching on YouTube, or if you are watching on YouTube, then you could probably go back through my sumo stuff playlist and find it. But I don't remember which one that was. But this is where, if they were trying to throw each other, Shodai probably has the better leverage here, because not only does he have the outside left so he can throw, but he also has his head on the left side so he can push Mitakeumi's head to the left with his own. And that's something you don't really think about, because it doesn't happen too often, but that is something that can happen. But Mitakeumi shuffles forward again, keeping himself square, keeping himself balanced, shuffling forward just chest to chest, inside right, Shodai struggling with his own right hand, Mitakeumi locking in the grip on the belt, really doing to Shodai's inside right what Hokuto Fuji did to Mitakeumi just a day ago, and getting the Yorikiri. So that was just really good Yotsuzumo by both men right there. But Mitakeumi was the one showing Ozeki level stuff, whereas Shodai, we don't talk about Shodai. And no, I'm not going to lead into that Encanto song. You shut up in there, Pokemon player. I love you.
10 wins for Mitakeumi.
I love you, princess. Alrighty, moving into day 12. Again, a lot of people were very happy that Mitakeumi did not lose on day 11, because they knew, like, oh shit, if he loses once, this might be just a big ugly string of losses, and we definitely don't want to see that. Unfortunately, though, that loss would be one day removed when he goes up against Onosho in just a little bit. Oh, I must have skipped it. That's Daisho, Chiyoshoma. Here we go. Mitakeumi versus Onosho. Onosho, similar to Hokuto Fuji in that they both yo-yo from Maegashira 5 to Maegashira 1 and Oricon Musubi. Onosho has a similar style to Hokuto Fuji. And Onosho actually has a pretty terrible head-to-head against Mitakeumi. It was 10-3 in favor of Mitakeumi coming into this match. But Onosho, oops, I'm going backwards now. But Onosho really showed up today to earn his Kachikoshi, and damn did he deserve it. Onosho keeping Mitakeumi away from his belt and then taking the step back and getting the slap down in the middle of the ring. And at full speed, you have to wonder how that even happened. So we'll watch it again at full speed. How does Mitakeumi do it here? Takes a step forward, gets pushed up, and then he just takes a step back and falls forward. And we can see it again. This is definitely a blunder from Mitakeumi. This is a very big blunder from Mitakeumi, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Onosho deals with him in the same way Daisho dealt with him, where even though Mitakeumi gets the inside right, Onosho pushes him up and away. Hand to the face, his left hand to the belly, using his head to charge forward, which is how he differs from Daisho. But the fact that he's using Yotsu or Oshizumo is how he differs from Hokuto Fuji. And here, he takes a step back. Mitakeumi attempts to shuffle forward. And then he just lets him fall. He might have pulled the hands too. Like, we can try to watch it again. It's very likely that Onosho pulls the hands and we simply can't see it. But I do think this is a big blunder from Mitakeumi because he defends the Tachi not too well. He lets himself get manhandled. He lets Onosho control the flow. And then right here, you could see Onosho pull the arms up. Yeah, he definitely wrenches Mitakeumi down. Mitakeumi's legs are too far back. His body is square, but his legs are too far back. And Onosho, sensing... he goes for the push and then the pull. And that's exactly what we were talking about before. Knowing the flow of the match, knowing if your opponent is off balance, and Onosho knew Mitakeumi not balanced right now. His legs think I'm going to keep pushing forward, so he's preparing himself for the defense on that push back, but Mitakeumi, preparing for more offense from Onosho decides, hey, I'm just going to let him fall forward. Let him fall flat on his face. Big blunder from Mitakeumi in this match. He didn't keep himself square. He didn't, keep his hips low like he usually does. And honestly, that was incredibly well played by Onosho. Very good sumo from Onosho. He deserved that Kachikoshi. And Mitakeumi 100% deserved that loss. Now we move into day 13, where, the race was getting really exciting at this point. If we want to go back to it, it was Terunofuji and Mitakeumi now tied for the Yusho, because both of them lost on that day 12, which was wild. But coming into it, we had Mitakeumi versus Abi, because Abi, he definitely earned all of his wins. He is just a good sumo wrestler.
That's minimum three-way playoff.
Let's see, we have Onosho versus Shodai, so we have to go back a little bit.
Stepped over the Tawada and out of the ring.
That's a replay from Abi Takanosho.
He went to
Abi versus Mitakeumi. Mitakeumi would want to deal with Abi in the same way he dealt with Daisho. Or does he deal with Daisho the same way he deals with Abi? And this is definitely a matchup that we've seen a lot in the past before Abi's suspension. And that's why they do have a history together. And the history between them is quite interesting too, because the day that Abi got suspended, he gave up the Fusensho victory to Mitakeumi. Which is, that's just a cute little tidbit. So Abi, probably a little miffed about that, wanted to try to get the win. Mitakeumi, though, is he going to let himself get pushed up and then slapped down this time, or did he learn from Onosho? How is he going to deal with Abi here? Abi, a man we will break down in the future as well. Mitakeumi, actually the one to be walking forward. He doesn't let Abi manhandle him in the same way that Onosho did. Even though Abi does get those, inside hands to the face, he doesn't let Mitakeumi get his hands inside. You can see Abi, both elbows inside, both hands straight to the throat, pushing Mitakeumi up and off balance. But Mitakeumi, despite this, pushes forward. And like I mentioned in my previous Abi breakdown, what he usually tries to do is exactly what he is doing, except his feet would be up here and not back here. He gets all of his leverage standing up his legs so he can lean forward and then push all of that into his opponent. But he takes the step back because Mitakeumi is the one, despite the fact that Abi got hands to the face, he just shifted his leg forward. Mitakeumi, despite getting, slap in the face, he pushes forward through it. And that's what gets him the win here. because he pushes forward through that initial assault, through the Tachi-ai, and Abi, now he's on the back foot, literally on the back foot. He's trying to fight off Mitakeumi, but now Mitakeumi takes another big step forward with this left. And now Abi, kind of running out of room behind him, his offense isn't working against Mitakeumi. Mitakeumi is not even parrying that well. Actually, instead of slapping the arm, goes for a slap to the face, forcing Abi to miss Mitakeumi's face. This is a really good freeze frame right here, actually. Abi grabbing the wrist of Mitakeumi, but Mitakeumi using the opportunity to go chest to chest, get inside. Abi attempts to throw him to the side and retreat to the left, which is not a bad idea, because Abi coming this way, throwing Mitakeumi off balance that way, he could then follow up by attacking the side. But what happens here is Mitakeumi, once again taking another big step forward with that left foot, stabilizes himself, squares his body. You could see he planted this foot to the right, brought it all the way back here, right there, stabilizes himself, and even though now Abi has him at a bad angle, he pulls the other foot back. Instead of trying to pursue with the left foot, he doesn't do that. He pulls the right foot back so he can re-square himself against Abi, which was the exact right decision he needed to make. Because then he charges forward, and that was a very dangerous charge because Abi does nearly get the slap down there, but he keeps himself balanced. He doesn't overcommit to the charge. He doesn't overcommit to the push like he did just yesterday. And he manages to get the push out against Abi, pushing at his thighs of all places. He's pushing at Abi's quads, which is interesting. But, you know, that's what got him the win. You don't see me for a week, you have to fly to DE for funeral. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. My condolences.
If Abi wants a chance at the Yusho, he has to take down the Yokozuna tomorrow. Mitakeumi with the solid win.
But yeah, Mitakeumi getting that win. You know, really still only thinking about getting double digits so he can get the Ozeki promotion. But also thinking about what is on the line in the future in terms of a possible Yusho win. Shodai went a little too far. Yesterday, replay Mitakeumi versus Abi, which means we have Mitakeumi versus Takeda Fuji coming up. And I like Takeda Fuji a lot. I do think it's unfortunate that Takeda Fuji could not get his 10th win. Always ashamed to see that he cannot get that, which, I mean, he's probably still happy to get 9 wins, but that's a different story. The head-to-head between Mitakeumi and Takeda Fuji was 9-4, now is 10-4, and, well, let's see why. And Takeda Fuji, he is very staunch in his style. He only ever goes for Yotsu. If someone tries to push at his face or attack his face, he tries to stand his ground and then grab the belt and end the game from there. But when he can't grab the belt, that's usually when he loses. And even when he grabs the belt, it's, you know, he wins most of the time, but not often enough.
In favor of Mitakeumi.
One of the things he did, he didn't think ahead, he kept focusing. Yeah, exactly. You just have to focus on every single match, every single day. You can't think about anything else. And that's exactly how these second week collapses usually happen. Like going back to what I said about Aoyama back in March of 2020, he saw that he was in first place, and he even said, like, it got into my head. I saw I was in first place, it got into my head, I lost the last 3 matches. And it's like, yeah, that's a damn shame that that happened. But you can't let, you know, your mental has to be unbreakable. That's one of the things about sumo. It's not just the physical aspect, it's also the mental. When a tournament is this long and you know exactly who the front runners are, you know exactly who your opponent is going to be for tomorrow, you have to just kind of focus on that every single day. You got to do your brand of sumo. Thank you, Water Geo. But yeah, Mitakeumi versus Takeda Fuji in this upcoming match. Mitakeumi attempts to get the right hand inside, doesn't even need it, pushes Takeda Fuji all the way to the edge, keeps Takeda Fuji off balance, and gets a really nice push out. 12-2 for Mitakeumi. Exactly, you have to fight according to your own game plan, and knowing how to counter your opponent's strategy so you can play according to your strengths is definitely a part of that. That's why, watching film on your opponents really helps you understand how to get that win the next day. And like I said, Takeda Fuji always likes to get the outside left, inside right, or I think he likes the outside left. I don't remember off the top of my head. But at the very least here, Mitakeumi charges forward. Takeda Fuji tries to counter Mitakeumi's inside right with an inside left of his own, but Mitakeumi uses that opportunity to do what Hokuto Fuji did to him in locking down that inside arm and making sure it can't do anything. And knowing Takeda Fuji is all about gripping the belt, having this inside arm do absolutely nothing is incredibly uncomfortable. He wants that hand on the belt. And Mitakeumi simply pushing forward chest to chest, and you can see the hand is gripping Takeda Fuji's arm. It's curving around here, keeping the arm locked up in Mitakeumi's belly. It's all according to plan for Mitakeumi here. Pushing forward, and even though he does let Takeda Fuji slip through, at this point, it is very difficult for Takeda Fuji to recover because Mitakeumi is simply exerting all of his power, chest to chest, pushing it forward. Takeda Fuji here does try to throw Mitakeumi off balance. You could see he does have, Mitakeumi being pressured this way. You could see Mitakeumi's shoulders shifting down like this, and his right leg being lifted up, or his left leg being lifted up off the ground. But that hop forward, imagine if Mitakeumi didn't get that hop. Imagine if he didn't plant that foot. That would have been a nice throw to the side by Takeda Fuji, but Mitakeumi plants that foot, a big hop, very dangerous hop, actually could have lost right there, but doesn't, and then continues pushing forward, shoulder in the chest, head in Takeda Fuji's shoulder, arm up in the rib cage, really getting Takeda Fuji off balance here, and then, that push to the back of the arm to really get Takeda Fuji off balance. You could see Takeda Fuji's leg is up in the air. He's going to get turned around in just a second. It's all over from here. But I do want to see that hop one more time because, again, realistically, Mitakeumi could have lost right there. Just watch it again right after this. This throw right here from Takeda Fuji, that hop. It's a small hop. His feet doesn't go too far. But that's really good defense from Mitakeumi. Really good stabilization and a really good win. That's just, again, really good defense from Mitakeumi. Avoiding the counterattack, parrying, and pushing forward for the win. And that's why I do hope, I don't know if Mitakeumi is thinking, he's definitely not thinking about Yokozuna right now, but if he does, I definitely wouldn't hate it if he did, I think it's Shiranui style, where it's the defensive style where one arm is in and one arm is out for the balance of attack and defense. Because he is very good at the defensive sumo. In the middle of the ring, in the very small hop that we're about to see right here, planting that leg, bringing the left one back down. What a dangerous situation to be in. Good throw from Takeda Fuji, but can't convert it. Because Mitakeumi's hop right there, that short hop, really bringing it all together. And then that is when we go into day 15, where he fights against the Yokozuna. He's learning when to be offensive. Yeah, it's knowing the balance, knowing how to balance your attack between offense and defense.
About the future of sumo.
Let's see, we don't really care about the Chiyoshoma Shodai. Teruno Fuji versus Mitakeumi. Teruno Fuji needed to take the win here in order to force a three-way playoff. Mitakeumi has an abysmal head-to-head record. 4-12 coming into this, or 3-12 coming into this match. One of those wins was a Fusensho. Coming up against Teruno Fuji, a lot of people were saying that Teruno Fuji, after hopping off of the dohyo the other day, that it's possible that his knees were tweaked, and that's why in those final few days he lost more often than, he really should have. But as far as that goes, there are no words about his knees. There have been no updates about a potential injury. There has been nothing that I have seen about Terunofuji's knees. And the only Stable Master comments about Terunofuji were basically like, you know, he competed for the top. You know, he got top 3. That's, you know, he did what a Yokozuna's supposed to. Not disappointed in his performance. Mitakeumi showed up. It's like, well, yeah. Gave up 2 Kinboshi, though, so... you know, I'm surprised they weren't a little harsher on him. But I think he does have the respect of the Sumo Association because he is not as brash or as outspoken. He's kind of like Kakuryu in the, you know, keep your head down. And really the only bad thing he's done was Henka Kotoshogiku all those years ago. Which, I'm sure people haven't forgotten about that, but they certainly have forgiven him. Because they do like him as the Yokozuna. They all respect him as the Yokozuna. And they're happy to have him as the Yokozuna. But yeah, this final match against Mitakeumi. Mitakeumi usually, I mean, Terunofuji is just a mountain of a man. Look at him. He's massive. He's just bigger. He's just more powerful. And that's how he gets a lot of his wins. He can't be moved. And even when he is, it's so hard to move him. That's why the real people that had a chance against him are usually Oshizumo guys like Daieisho. Tamawashi, I thought, was kind of a standout in the fact that he just kind of won straight off the Tachi-ai. But it's usually the hand to the face or the hand to the throat that gets Terunofuji's goat. Whereas Mitakeumi doesn't do that. This is not a stylistic matchup that Mitakeumi should succeed in by any means. There are people that are still angry about that Henka. Oh my god. They need to get over it. What the fuck? Why he lost that first match. Never let him set. Yeah, exactly.
Or will Terunofuji force the play off?
Yeah, Terunofuji actually gets the push forward, but Mitakeumi takes the step back, pulls the arm, and then afterwards gets the double inside, and Terunofuji didn't have the strength to counter it. So we can see off the Tachi-ai right here, Mitakeumi matches him, but gets outside left, probably inside right, which is what we like to see. Terunofuji getting the inside right, really leaning the shoulder into Mitakeumi here. But Mitakeumi, I will say, does have a very nice catch, like a good defensive stance, and then uses this to slap Terunofuji to the side. Because we saw them stand up chest to chest a moment ago, and then Mitakeumi uses the outside left to the rib cage to push Terunofuji this way. And it's very possible, too, that he caught Terunofuji's left arm with his right and pulled, which is how Terunofuji gets into this position in the first place. So after this move, Mitakeumi, still trying to maintain a grip on this arm, retreats backwards, has Terunofuji to the side, and now the onus is on Terunofuji to re-square his body. Because look at this setup right here. We have Mitakeumi completely square, leaned forward, pushing against a Terunofuji who, like, look at where his feet is. His feet are in a line like this. His hips are off kilter somewhere back there. His shoulders like this. This is a really bad position for Terunofuji right now. So Mitakeumi, on that slight pull off the Tachi-ai, already has such an advantageous start. Trying to, you know, shuffle to the side, keep Terunofuji to the side, and when Terunofuji fights it back, it looks like he tries to pull that right arm up and out of the grip, but uses that forearm to push Mitakeumi back. And with that, Mitakeumi, he keeps shuffling to the side. That forearm had no effect. He just circled around him like, you know, a snake circling his prey. And he's supposed to be pink. Circled around him like a snake circling his prey. And Terunofuji, he's still caught off to the side. He's still, you know, hips all facing us, all facing the camera right now. Whereas Mitakeumi is constantly shifting around him, feet this way, hips this way. Shoulders a little off kilter, but they're this way. Constantly attacking the side of Terunofuji. And that's where the advantage really comes in, because then, after that forearm attack fails from Terunofuji, Mitakeumi does find himself get separated, but then in the recharge, inside right, Terunofuji's outside left, a little too weak, but Mitakeumi has his foot in the driving position. He's the one driving forward this foot. He has this back foot ready to shuffle forward or take the big step, not sure which one he's going to do to generate the power he needs, but he has so much leverage here. All of this power going straight into Terunofuji's chest. And, this isn't like Hoshoryu, who's, much skinnier and much less powerful than Mitakeumi, where Terunofuji is glad to have the double outside grip so he can just lift him up. Same thing with Kiribayama. Not as big as Mitakeumi, not as strong as Mitakeumi. Doesn't have the same mass. So when Terunofuji has the double outside on any of those guys, it's easy for him. But against Mitakeumi here, very difficult. Because we can see Mitakeumi really leaning forward and getting this good foot behind Terunofuji's. Getting the knee behind Terunofuji's knee. Really getting Terunofuji off balance here. Lifting as he pushes. Yeah, exactly. So just being in such an overwhelmingly positive position gets the inside right around the back on the knot of the belt, and usually that's a deadly position to be in. Inside seems to be left as well. And then, loses the grip on the belt, but from here, chest to chest, Mitakeumi, and we've said it several times, wide stance, hips square, shoulders square, and now he has double inside. And from here, it's all over. Everything Mitakeumi wants as he shuffles on forward, lowers his hips and chest again so he can get the one last push as Terunofuji walks it back out of the ring. Ozeki Mitakeumi putting on a fantastic show this tournament. And really, if Mitakeumi can keep doing this, I could see him become Yokozuna. And if he becomes Yokozuna, I think he will be a great Yokozuna. I don't think there's any doubt that... I really think it's more of a hope that Mitakeumi keeps up this consistency. Like, if he goes another 13-2, or even a 12-3, I think people will be very happy with that. Because now we can have, Mitakeumi Takakeisho be the real Ozeki here. He really is very different. He really has been stepping up his game. Even in the 9 and 6, again, that week 2 collapse, he had 3 losses on day 12, 13, and 14. Again against Onosho, against a full power Terunofuji, and against Okinoumi, who was, doing very well in his own right. That was back in the Hatsu Basho.
That was a really good push by Mitakeumi.
That was in September. 11 wins. A kind of week 2 collapse. Had 3 losses in week 2 on day 10 to Takara Fuji. Day 12 to Endo. And then day 13 again to the Yokozuna Terunofuji. So now these 2 losses coming against Onosho and Hokuto Fuji again. It seems Onosho is starting to catch his stride against Mitakeumi, and then other people snagging the wins are either on a hot streak or just better on that day. Yeah, now that we've seen Mitakeumi improve his mental focus, that was Endo's best match. Oh yeah, probably.
Don't forget to be there because
yeah, it was I'm really hoping, and I'm sure everyone in Japan is hoping the same thing, that Mitakeumi keeps up this consistency, keeps up this pressure, and can really compete to become the next Yokozuna. And I do think it's kind of a shame that Shodai was very disappointing as an Ozeki, and I don't know if his time is going to be up just yet. And it's also kind of conflicting to feel that Takakeisho is not really being considered for Yokozuna because of how often his injuries are. But, in Mitakeumi's 5-year career, he joined sumo from Makushita Tsukidashi 10 as a college boy, immediately joined the top ranks in 2 Basho, 6-1, 6-1. First tournament in Judio, 11-4 Yusho. One of his first tournaments in the top division, Kanto Show. I'm pretty sure that's Fighting Spirit. 2 Kinboshi in 1 tournament in 2017. So, like, this guy is amazing. Mitakeumi is just really good. And then in his first year at the Sanyaku, and we see, a lot of other guys have this similar problem, like Takanosho, like Wakataka Kage and Meisei right now, all in this first year of the Sanyaku. 9-6, 8-7, 9-6, 8-7, not amazing, but still, hanging with the big boys. They're playing with the big boys now, and they're hanging in. And then September 2018, you could call it a flash in the pan, but I see it as, really coming into his own. 13-2, his first Yusho, getting the fighting spirit and outstanding performance on top of it, probably. And then after that, kind of regressing back into that 9-6, and you can even see it on the sumo database. A lot of these black dots coming in that week too, probably again because of that mental collapse. Like this is a bad one in November. Like 6 losses in a row. My guy, what happened here? And then the next tournament, he gets all of his wins in the second week. So, like, yes, he is indeed half Filipino. High protein pasta acquired. Very nice. Tomorrow's leg day. Get some squats in. How much is your deadlift, bro? But yeah, it's in terms of Mitakeumi, it's like he's always had it. 2018 Yusho, 2019 Yusho, 2020 11-4, 10-5, on an Ozeki run, couldn't finish it out with that 8-7. Most of his losses kind of scattered about. Always getting 2 losses in a row here too. But if he can stay on this path, if he can keep the mental fortitude, and hopefully the role of Ozeki does not get to him that badly, then I think he can be a fantastic Ozeki, and in the future, possibly a pretty good Yokozuna. His family in the Philippines isn't far from your wife's. He's known to drive around on a special built Harley. That's awesome. If that's true, that's awesome. But yeah, I am very hopeful for Mitakeumi. I have always been a Mitakeumi believer, so I'm looking forward to seeing more Mitakeumi. And that is going to be the